Good morning. I'm delighted to present to you the jury of the Children's Spectators project that we are delighted in being involved as Bologna Children's Book Fair. It's a great project that crosses languages and that reflects and invites to a reflection about the interactions of languages devoted to children. Especially we're talking about the relationship among illustrations and the performing arts. So theater and ballet and other performing arts. There is a huge invitation internationally to reflect on this, and this name is among the framework of the 4-year project Mapping, a map on the aesthetics of performing arts for early years. In this framework, Bologna Children's Book Fair became partner of La Baracca Teatro Testoni Ragazzi, who is the most representative reality in theater for children in the city of Bologna and internationally renowned, with other 16 partners. So we have a huge project among that involves 18 partners from 17 countries, and it's devoted to, yes, reflect and research, I would say, about the interaction between arts, so artistic languages. And so I welcome here the group that is leading the project. First of all, Roberto Frabetti, who is leading the project with La Baracca Teatro Testoni Ragazzi, and this is not the only international project that you are leading. I know this was approved in the is a European project, and you are active in this international platform with many different projects about languages and children. And I welcome Giorgia Grilli, professor at the University of Bologna in children's literature, and who is involved in the project since the very beginning. In fact, the project Mapping was born in 2019, and so it's going on for 4 years. And in 2023, there will be a huge exhibition that will be the result of the selection of the previous exhibitions. It's a project that is complex and rich, so I will let Roberto Frabetti tell us more about it. I just want to welcome Maurizio Quarello, who is a great illustrator and also teacher at the Academy of Fine Arts in Macerata, internationally renowned and acclaimed. And I'm honored of having you here, and you were in the jury. You will tell us about what was in this candidation of so many illustrations. I'm very happy of having Giulia Orecchia, who is an illustrator, a teacher of illustration, author of many books, and more than 50, I think, and illustrated books. And some of those are also related to the languages of performing arts. I just ran into Gianni Rodari about theater and other titles about ballet. So there is an incredible energy in this project. I know, just to mention some numbers, that this year for the 21st edition, 584 illustrators were candidated from 61 countries, and 35 of them were selected. Of course, they were selected for an exhibition that is possible to see in the Bologna Children's Book Fair online platform, but also in another platform that is online vision of the Festival of Future of Vision of Teatro La Baracca and Teatro Testoni per Ragazzi. So it's a step by step, an exhibition after the other, and then there will be a bigger exhibition in 2023. There we will have also the join of 4 big illustrators. I want to mention them, and of course the illustrators that were selected the previous year. will be selected again and included in the exhibition. I hope I'm saying that well. It's a rich and complex project. The four big illustrators that will join the final exhibition are Katsumiko Magata, Manuel Marsol, Fabian Negrin, Klaas Verplanke. So four big of the illustrations that we know very well. They're friends of Bologna Children's Book Fair. And so the project is an adventure that goes crossing languages, crossing images and thoughts about performing arts and children's culture. I would like to ask you, Roberto Frabetti, to tell us a bit more about this. You will be more precise. You have great energy to lead this big project, and we are amazed of the result. So thank you for telling us more.
Thank you, Marcella. Thank you to everyone also to be here with us. It's difficult to add something because you said everything. But your presentation was perfect, and so it's very difficult to add something. But I want to punctualize an aspect that is very important for me in this project, that also give us the idea to create this exhibition of the children spectators, that the idea that we are absolutely to discover all the skill and the potentiality of the children, or particularly of the children of the small children in the early years, because we think, it's not my opinion, but I share this opinion, that we know very few about the children of this age. We don't know which are really their cognitive knowledge and skills, and which are particular their quality of emotion. And in this project, we want to investigate a lot, if it's possible, about this aspect, in which way they live during a performing art moment, like an intensive, sensitive experience. We think that ecstatic is a way to live in all the sense of our body, and to live a moment and to feel what happened. And we think that the spectator is not a passive role, but is an active role, and it's fantastic when you have in front of you, when you can perform, and you have in front of you a girl or a boy of 1 year old or 2 years old or 4 years old, but all the children are incredible, but the very young are really are able to give you a lot of different emotion, and for an adult, for an artist, is a so strong experience. And so we want to investigate about this. This is the project. The map, the idea of the map is not to create a chart, to create a manifesto, but to create a map that is a map of a question. It's not a map of answer, but a map of questions. Our idea is that mapping is a project where we want to find generative questions that produce new questions. And so when we finish our research in 23, as we said before, the idea is that we don't conclude nothing, but we start just to give an impulse to continue to investigate about performing arts and children during the moment, but also, and this is important in this new project, the relation, as you said, among performing arts, literature for children, and illustration, because it appears that are so close, arts, but it's not so. We have really, there are many differences, and it's very interesting. And also this experience of the jury was so important for me, because I really learned a lot of things, because it's a completely different point of view. And so it was very interesting to continue to work about this and to continue to investigate. And for this, at the end, in the big exhibition, as you said, we produce about 30 questions that for us are stimulating, are really intriguous. I don't know if it's correct the words, intriguing or like this. And so the four big illustrators are able to illustrate. They are just starting to produce this, but also and it was not in the beginning, the starting of the project. We want to give a lot of value of this experience of the children spectators exhibition, because absolutely we didn't wait these results in terms of quantity, but particular results about quality. And so the idea is that at the end we give more relevance to this full exhibition, because we have also the exhibition in 22nd, and we want maybe to create like this book about this, because really the contribute made that the illustrators gift us was really high. So we go, and it was a pleasure to work with the other, with Georgia, with Mauricio, with Julia, and I think that we continue to go on. Thank you.
It's thank you, Roberto. It's full of promise, this discourse, and we know that it's really. I want to spend one more few words for saying that this jury is a meeting among professionals that have spent their life working in children's culture, and you yourself are actor and director and author and an organizer, and so it comes from, I don't know what to say, but like coming from the backstage of children's culture, stimulation of questions and reflections. So it's really interesting and intriguing, as you said, what you are doing with this discourse. It's an education and cultural discourse, I would say, but I would like to hear more from you. I like what you said about emotions, about investigation. I think it's a key word of this project, investigations, right? And also I want to underline how your project goes also into the aim of educating and growing to the global citizenship. So one of the international European aim that is to build a world of peace and of global citizenship, which means to exchange view and perspectives about the world itself. I would like now to ask to Giulia Orecchia to take us on a little journey through the illustrations that she prepared for us. I really thank you for that. And so we could go into the illustrations with our guide.
Yes, thank you. I tried to give my point of view as illustrator. As illustrator, I had a view on all the illustrations that the jury has chosen, and I have tried to give, to make a sort of categorization, I don't know if you say so, just to see the way the illustrators interpreted the theme. And so now I show you.
Thank you. Yes, also Stephanie Johnson is with us for the translation, but we have we are now already speaking in English. But Stephanie, thank you for being with us.
So, how illustrators have interpreted this theme of children spectator? Sorry. Just a moment, I have to move this because I don't see.
I see, I know what you mean. I'm used to it. You have our faces on your presentation, I guess.
Yes, I want to move this, so, but it doesn't work.
No, if you take all the frame, our windows with our face trick, no?
Yes, so some illustrators represented the stage and the public. And so you see, they just represented the whole show, spectators and performers. Some represented on the viewer side just the spectators, and they did not represent the show. So the show remains in a space of mystery. So these children are looking at something which is not always a theater, but it is something we don't know what, but it's full of mystery and magic. And this was something that many choose. In these illustrations, we have also a very singular public. They are maybe little mushrooms, and they are looking at something. Some choose to represent this, the relation on the performance side. So we see the actors on the backstage before they get out and meet their public, or public looking at the backstage and to discover which are the tricks of the actors. Some tried to represent all the possible performing arts, or just a stage, or just taking the characters of books as actors, as performers. Many had this idea of representing street theater and children involved in the show, so taking part of it in a street show. And some represented nature as a show, so that children look at nature and they are the authors of this. They understand the nature on their point of view, and it becomes a show itself. Anything around us can be a show. So children have fantasy. They can imagine that something is moving or something is becoming a show, even if it's not. That's their fantasy. And some worked on the identification. Children get into the show. Not only they look at it, but they take part to it. Sometimes some illustrators choose a more filtered point of view. So it's not nature, it's not a show, it's something which has been made, which becomes a show. So we have art pieces, or a film. And then some focused on the changes, on the effects of show on children. So it may bring children from a dark situation to a bright situation, or just let them dream, or let them understand something more of the world of adults. So that's all.
Thank you very much, Julia. So it looks like illustrators had a lot to say about this subject, and they experienced different perspectives, but they had a lot to say. What was your impression about that?
Yes, they have. I think that children books are somehow a sort of show also for children, because when we illustrate, we make a book, we always think we have public and we are not there, but through our pictures and texts and pages, we try to connect with the children. And so it's a sort of show, a sort of spettacolo, like a small theater, but very intimate. And I think that this relation is always in our minds, also when we make children books. So it's very interesting to connect with theater, which is there, and they live with children, they see them, and they have a direct relation.
So this fantastic journey you took show also that it's a meta-reflection, as you were saying, now that illustrators can do about a space in which a performing art is telling a story through visual, through the body, through the gestures, and so constructing an experience for children that is aesthetic and also ethic and also educational in a way. And so thank you for proposing this category that always are stimulating for the thoughts. I was visiting the journey on the website and I had just some, ideas, but like this, I could see how in many different angles the theme was approached. And thank you, Giulia. I would like to ask to Maurizio Quarello to tell us about this experience. I mean, there were a lot of candidates, a lot of illustrations that were submitted. So once again, it looks illustrators had a lot to say about this subject. E allora chiederei a Maurizio Quarello una piccola riflessione su questo, cioè qual è stata l'impressione davanti a questa grande quantità di illustrazioni che sono state candidate prima di tutto. Quindi prima di tutto sembra che gli illustratori avessero molto da dire su questo argomento, e poi quali sono state le tue impressioni da giurato e da artista?
Bene, la prima impressione è stata piuttosto scoraggiante perché erano tantissime le illustrazioni da vedere, quindi all'inizio è stato un po' scioccante. Poi poco per volta, cominciando a cercare, spulciare, riguardare, io non so tra tutti quante volte avremo aperto e chiuso la serie di illustrazioni. Poco per volta qualcosa ha cominciato a venire fuori e poi a sparire. Questa è la cosa strana. Non sempre la prima impressione che magari pensi di aver trovato il colpo di fulmine e invece a una seconda occhiata cominci a scoprire che non è così.
In fact, the first thing was complete discouragement when we looked at that mass of illustrations that we had to look at. At the beginning, it was really quite shocking. And however, then, little by little, we started to look around, to go through it, to go through the various illustrations, open them, close them, look at them again. And gradually, things seemed to come out, but then at times disappear as well. And that was a strange thing, because something that really struck you at the beginning and that you really fell in love with, at a second view didn't really seem to be that great.
A questo punto mi sono dato delle regole da seguire, che erano ad esempio quelle di che il messaggio, quindi l'argomento, fosse rispettato. E questo è stato molto importante, mi ha aiutato molto, ma ne avevamo parlato anche nelle prime riunioni per stabilire alcuni punti fermi su cui lavorare. Questo è stato molto utile perché per come abbiamo stabilito insomma i nostri criteri, erano quelli che dal momento in cui un lavoro era fuori tema, per quanto bello, chiaramente non poteva entrare nella mostra.
But at a certain point, I started giving myself rules, in fact, to follow. And that was that the message that we had said that these illustrations had to follow had to be followed. And that was very important. It's something that we discussed in the first meetings to, if you like, set particular goalposts for our criteria. And that was very useful. Therefore, something, even if it was a great illustration, if it wasn't on the theme, it was eliminated.
E poi naturalmente il gusto personale, naturalmente questo conta sempre, è importante perché tutti noi abbiamo i nostri gusti. E poi che alla fine sia una bella selezione. Io ne sono soddisfatto, poi naturalmente ci sarebbero lavori che io non avrei inserito, mentre ne sono rimasti fuori che per me erano molto belli, ma questo fa parte del gioco e credo che il bello sia proprio questo.
So in the end, of course, you have to come up with personal tastes, which is very important in our choice. But I'm very happy because I think that we came up with a really great selection. Some of the illustrations that I didn't particularly like were included, and others that I thought marvelous weren't. But, that's the great thing about a selection.
Scusa, prego.
Come considerazione generale, penso che anche per tutti gli altri sia stato così, molto molto interessante tutte queste culture diverse, questi punti di vista diversi, queste interpretazioni diverse, questo è molto bello. Poi tutti noi siamo abituati a lavorare con missioni internazionali, a lavorare con stranieri di un po' tutto il mondo, quindi è sempre bello scoprire queste interpretazioni diverse da paese a paese, da cultura a cultura.
And again, a consideration, a general consideration, which I'm sure is shared by everybody, that it's really interesting and great to work with people from different cultures, different points of view, to see all these. We, as a group, are quite used to working with international commissions, with people from outside Italy, and it's always great to see these different views from different cultures, different countries.
Vedo che nelle illustrazioni è stata presentata anche un titolo, è stato presentato un titolo con l'illustrazione, e ho visto che non sempre questo titolo è didascalico, anzi a volte, come dire, è più evocativo, e volevo sapere se da questo punto di vista voi avevate richiesto di mandare un'immagine con un titolo, vero?
I see that some of the illustrations, in fact, have a title, and the title is not necessarily that explanatory or didactic. It's almost an evocative title, and it's true that you asked for the illustrations to come accompanied with a title. Is that right?
See, yes, it's correct. Not only the title, but also a short description, a narrative description. And this narrative description, for me, that I like to write story and so, was really a good surprise, because they don't describe, there was not like a technical description of the pictures, but it was like they summarize a lot of suggestion, a lot of impression, in which way born this picture. And some description are really good small tales.
Grazie, Roberto. Thank you. And well, you mentioned Maurizio Quarello, the work of a jury being a commitment in exchanging ideas and perspectives, and you come from words that are well, you and Giulia Orecchia are both author and illustrators, but also coming from the international research, as Giorgia Grilli, on the work on performing art and theater, like Roberto Frabetti. How was the discussion among you? You already mentioned something, but I would like to know something more, if you like. Mi piacerebbe, Maurizio Quarello, chiederti, hai già menzionato, no, il fatto che un lavoro di una giuria è un confronto fra prospettive diverse, no? Nel vostro caso c'è, diciamo, il lato più autoriale, quindi tu e di Giulia Orecchia, e poi un lato in cui sì, c'è un autore di teatro, quindi di un linguaggio leggermente diverso, anche se confinante, e una autrice invece di ricerche scientifiche sul tema della letteratura per l'infanzia. Mi piacerebbe sapere di più com'è stata la vostra discussione, com'è stato parlare con questi colleghi di mondi vicinissimi o meno, o forse semplicemente adiacenti, insomma.
Allora, interessante, sempre, un po' come dicevo prima, ci si rimette in gioco guardando lavori che arrivano da tutto il mondo, ed è sempre bello discutere con, diciamo, addetti ai lavori, ma di altri lavori. Va bene, chiaramente Giorgia è molto nel campo nostro, mentre invece Roberto, lavorando in teatro, facendo teatro, ha un altro punto di vista. Chiaramente non sempre si è d'accordo, ma alla fine io penso che proprio queste linee guida che ci siamo dati abbiano poi dopo avuto un bel risultato.
It's always very interesting, as always, to, as we said before, to, if you like, put yourself on the line and look at almost your own work by looking at the work from people from all over the world. And it's also great to be able to discuss with people who are, if you like, in the business, but having a different angle to what you do. Georgia, of course, is in the university and research world, whereas Roberto has a different point of view coming from theatre. And even if people weren't totally always in agreement, we did follow the guidelines, and the description and the discussion was really very useful.
Allora, grazie anche a Maurizio Quarello per questo piccolo appunto contributo sulla esperienza della giuria. Ci sono sicuramente molti illustratori che aspettano di partecipare ancora, so I wanted to thank you, Maurizio Quarello, and thinking to the illustrators that will like to candidate their work to the great project devoted to the children spectators. I would like to ask to Giorgia Grilli to tell us some more about if you fixed some criteria for the selection as a jury, how you did work.
We did. We had to select some criteria by which to decide which images to take in or to dismiss, because there were so many. And as we were saying, coming from different perspectives, we had different things that we wanted to give value to. So in the end, we decided for a list of elements that were important for us as a jury. And one was originality. So the illustration had to be new somehow. There were many good images that had already been seen so many times, like over and over again. So we dismissed them for that. So we were looking for new images. Another element we were looking for was the attention to children as an audience for these images too. I mean, this is an exhibition that goes into Bologna Children's Book Fair, which is about children's books. So children had to be taken into consideration when illustrating. So, which means that we dismissed some abstractly artistic images, maybe beautiful images, but which had no children in mind. So another element was composition, the composition of the image. When you have to present just one illustration, it is important that it is well composed, almost like a poster. I mean, it's different when you have to make a picture book where you have many illustrations that can be a bridge, for example, between one and another. But if you have to present just one illustration, it has to be somehow well done in terms of composition. Another element was, of course, technical quality, stylistic coherence, and drawings had to be well done. You had to be a professional, not amateur. Again, another element was narrativity. We looked for images that were able to tell a story, to imply a story, a plot behind it. So we preferred narrative images rather than just decorative ones. Also, very important for us was that the idea of childhood behind the image was not a stereotyped idea of childhood. Childhood is a very complex, deep age or dimension. Children have an intense inner life. They can have disruptive emotions, for example. And the performative arts help bring these emotions out. You know, children have fears, have nightmares, have dreams. So we eliminated all the images, and there were many. I've been here since the beginning, so in previous editions too, and we received many images with stereotyped ideas of childhood behind them, with rainbows and butterflies and fairies and blue skies and smiling children. So instead we looked for more authentic representations of childhood. And again, the idea was important. The idea, as Maurizio was saying, had to be faithful to the title of the child's spectator or children's spectators. Because I'm saying this because people send many beautiful images that have nothing to do with the theme of the exhibition, so they don't get in this sense. We decided not to take them in. And if there's something else that I can add, is probably the fact that the title of the exhibition, which is the child spectator or children's spectators, comes with some instruction, a subtitle, which is, you know, the illustration has to be about the relationship between children and the performative arts. But the title itself is so evocative. You know, the child spectator, it has such a philosophical undertone that it really inspired the illustrators in many other ways and in many other directions. So as you can see from the flow of images, there was not just attention to the performative arts, but to the idea that, in fact, the child is quintessentially a spectator. The child is the ideal spectator because the child, much more than the adult, is able to watch with amazement, with enchantment, with a sense of wonder, and not just theater or dance or music, but anything and everything, as Julia was saying, nature, the smallest insects, a stain on the wall, a starry night. So nature, everything is a spectacle for a child. So we really wanted to take in all of the images that represented not simply the performative arts, but the philosophical idea of the child spectator.
Thank you very much, Giorgia, for this very beautiful words that gives the idea of how deep it's this research and also how many surprises can come in the future. So we are looking forward the next edition of the exhibition, and I think we have a few minutes more. So I would like to ask you, if you want, we could go once again through the images, through the gallery, and I would like to ask you just briefly to choose just one of the images and comment it if you like it. Of course, if you don't want to add something else. Mi piacerebbe adesso, se volete, abbiamo qualche minuto in più. Allora ringraziamo moltissimo Giorgia per le tue bellissime parole che rendono la profondità di questo progetto e anche l'idea che molte sorprese devono ancora verranno. Quindi davvero questa apertura anche di questioni che aveva sottolineato anche Roberto Frabetti. Quindi una lente, diciamo, un invito a guardare con la grande profondità che hai messo in evidenza di quando si parla di infanzia e relazione col mondo. E mi piacerebbe adesso, se volete, se vi fa piacere, se non volete aggiungere intanto qualcosa adesso, mi piacerebbe di nuovo, se volete, scorrere le immagini in modo da poter da farvi scegliere, se volete, un'immagine che avete particolarmente apprezzato. Questo, se vi fa piacere, lo possiamo fare in un istante. Adesso io condivido di nuovo lo schermo e se volete fermarvi sulla vostra immagine preferita, forse comincerei da Maurizio Querello. Mi piacerebbe dallo sguardo, insomma, di un grande artista su queste immagini, qual è una preferita, se c'è?
Difficile perché sarebbero
So.
tre, però...
Tutte e tre, vediamole tutte e tre, abbiamo tempo.
Allora, corri, prego che ti fermo.
Va bene.
There in
Allora.
fact would be 3. That's difficult, but anyway, we're going to see 3.
Yes, sure. Allora, così.
Eccoci.
Questa.
Sì. Questa trovo anche per una cosa che non ho detto prima, che per me è molto importante, anche che siano pubblicabili, che possano effettivamente trovare un loro spazio sul mercato, e questa mi sembra che abbia veramente tutte le caratteristiche, la narratività, la composizione, la professionalità per essere pubblicata, se già non lo è stato fatto, insomma.
This one especially, I think, because as we said before, it's something that can in fact also be published. It will find a market, and because it's got the character, it's got the narrative element, the composition, the professional sort of drawing, it could definitely be published if it hasn't been published already.
Sembra anche un'immagine molto colta, cioè ha tanti riferimenti anche all'illustrazione, no? Alla storia dell'illustrazione.
Sì, si sente che qui dietro c'è non solo lavoro e talento, ma anche una bella cultura artistica di base, sì.
Yeah, definitely. Also, you can see the history of art behind it. It's somebody who is well versed in the history of art. Apart from the good work and the talent, there's also a very solid basis there.
Ming Liu, Chinese Popular Republic, Animal Rhapsody.
Eccoci.
Questo?
No, sopra.
Questo?
Sì.
Victoria Semichina, from Russia, is François Truffaut, The Child Who Loved Cinema, published by Kite Edition. So this is coming from an already published book.
Io direi che qui c'è molto poco da dire, parla da sé l'immagine, insomma, ogni personaggio è caratterizzato a modo suo, poi vabbè, c'è questa anche citazione di Truffaut, dunque poco da dire, immagine anche questa molto molto professionale, molto, molto matura, bella, insomma, eccezionale.
I think this is exceptional. There's very little to say about this because the image speaks for itself. Every person and character here has their own specific features, and of course there's a citation of Truffaut. It's highly professional, a great image, nothing really more to say about it.
If I may add just
yes,
one
please.
word to it, because we really discussed about it, and it's the fact that it's so pertinent with the theme, because this is Truffaut when he was a child going to the cinema and then becoming the great, cinema director that we know. So sometimes your experience as a child spectator can be so strong that it decides for your destiny,
I have to say that it's interesting to reflect on this, because last year at the Bologna Children's Book Fair, as you know, our special category of the Bologna Ragazzi Award has been cinema. Mm-hmm. So there has been a good research, a good perspective on in the international publishing on the theme. And it's very interesting to see how much illustration and children's literature has to say about this relation among people and art. As a life dimension.
Eccoci, le lucertole.
Questo?
No, sopra.
No, scusami, le lucertole, eccole. Wow.
Anche qui si è un po' discusso, non tutti apprezzavano, io trovo, però la tecnica...
Che cos'è? Che tecnica è?
Io non so se sia serigrafia o digitale con la resa serigrafica, ma poco importa. Quando la tecnica funziona bene, non importa che sia tradizionale o che sia in digitale. E qui per me c'è tutta una magia, c'è un racconto. Un bambino qua davanti può, anzi sicuramente si scrive la sua storia, perché sono qua queste lucertole, da dove arrivano, che cosa succede, che cosa succederà dopo. Questa è proprio, a parte la bellezza, la trovo molto 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 ben realizzata, ma qui è proprio quel tipo di illustrazione che scatena la fantasia dei bambini, per cui altro lavoro per me, questo veramente eccellente. Grazie.
Another excellent, the one with the lizards. In fact, the technique, it's not quite sure what the technique is. It might be silk screen printing and then with a digital overlay, or the other way around. But quite frankly, it doesn't matter what technique it is, because it's quite exceptional. It creates a magic. There's a whole story behind that a child also can write his own story. You know, where do these lizards come from? What's going to happen? What's going to happen next? And it's a wonderful sort of all-encompassing illustration, which I think is great.
And if I may add something, it's
sure,
it's also about cooking as a performative art.
Yes. It's a fantastic metatextual again. It's metatextual. It's a fantastic image.
You know, for children, you know, someone who cooks well or cooks something that they love eating is a performative art. It's an art.
Yes, my daughter at the moment has a Montessorian tower, and she looks and she stares at me while I'm cooking, so I can witness this is really true from the very early childhood. And thank you, Maurizio, for your selections. And I would like to listen to from Giulia, also, and from Roberto, from Giulia Orecchia and Roberto Frabetti. I know that I would like to ask you about this. I know that Roberto Frabetti likes very much this image. Am I right, Roberto? Am I remembering well?
Yeah. You remember well. I like very much this, because I like also the realism illustration, because I think that is without stereotypes. It's just really a vision. But this illustration touched me because the illustrator really was able to tell in a very good way what is for me the relationship between an artist, a performing artist, and the child. That in this, I like the description because it's the idea that the artist is a facilitator for the child. Is not who teach, but is able to open new doors and to open new vision and like this, because the children are really able to take and to catch a lot of sensation and imagination and concept knowledge from everybody. But our role, the role of the artist, is the role of this giant that is just a question of size, because I like in the description. The description is fantastic, because it's like really a small tail, and in the description, Nadia Marchesini Romero wrote, children are great spectators who can see unreachable skies, touch elusive wings, intrude between the roofs that float above the clouds, hear the silence of the trees, and feel hidden mysteries, especially when they look from the borrowed shoulders of some giants. And I like very much this word, borrowed shoulders. There is not power, but it's the sense of service. And I think that art, when we are working with the children, really have to underline your mission, that is a mission of service also. Yeah, you give. It's just for a time. Then the child go, but I give you is my borrowed shoulder for a moment. And I like a lot for this, but really also the illustration for me is great.
Thank you, Roberto. So there's a great generosity in performing art and also in illustration that can be displayed. There is also there's responsibility of grown-ups to take children on their shoulders and invite them to look here or there. So it's a responsibility, it's a selection again. And thank you very much for also reading the text of Nadia Romero Marchesini. And Giulia Orecchia, would you like me to stop in one of these illustrations that you like particularly?
Of course, I agree with Roberto and Maurizio with their
the choices,
they choose,
yes.
Their choices. But I would like to talk about the ones where the children as spectators are represented. So the ones, the first one, and there are a couple of other that are similar. The first one, I found it very interesting, really because of the interpretation. This idea of magic and wonder, something, it's a feeling that I always have in theater when everywhere is dark, and then light comes and the curtain open, and we have this view of this wonder, this show. The show begins, and it's magic. I like the way these illustrators, this one and there is another one, and they just did not represent the show, but left it in the mystery. And I think it's very inspiring. I like that.
Thank you. We go to see also the other one. Also, this one is this sort of discourse, right?
This one, yes, this one, and then the other one with a group of children looking at you.
So this is for Spain, Garrate Molina Maria Jose.
Yes. I am very interested in the interpretation more than looking at the style or the technique, so this one.
This one, Benedetta Sala.
I think it's really a feeling that children have when they start looking at a show.
Yeah, it's once again a cut, like a window, let's say, but you see it on the opposite side. You go on the other side.
You really set a relation with this public. You are there and you look at them. So I find it interesting.
Thank you very much. And Georgia, would you like to show us one of your favorites?
Yeah, my favorite was the Truffaut one, but I can tell you something about one image that tells you more about why we selected some images, even though they were not, well, they were debatable. If you go up to an image by a Chinese illustrator with a projection of some sort of movie on the wall, this one. Yes. Okay, so we didn't agree as a jury at the beginning on this one, because as you can see, there is a part of the illustration, which is the thing projected on the wall, which is very well drawn, very well done. And the rest of it, which is the child, the table, the door, which are sort of flat, dull, with no volume. You know, it's some kind of amateur, sort of not professional, you know, drawings. But, and this tells you how important the words that came with illustration were. So the line that came with this illustration was "Welcome to the wonderful world," as if to say that what the child is watching is wonderful, so deserves volume, it deserves fineness of the representation, and in opposition with the everyday life, which is dull and flat and gray and not so very well drawn, you know. So it was this discrepancy in the styles was chosen, was not done because the illustrator could not draw well. So, I mean, in the end, the line helped us because it says, "Welcome to the wonderful world," which is on the wall.
See, that's a very refined way of discussing about an image, and the result is an incredible exhibition. I have to say, it's really enchanting, and I want to underline how incredible is this work. I wanted to add just one thing, that the importance of your project being international, crossing languages and countries and cultures, is also relatable to the right of children of having access to high-level art and literary and also performing arts. This is one of the rights that we find in the International Paper of Children's Rights of 1989. And I like to remember it. It is the Article 13 and 17 saying about that. I think it's very important, so that it doesn't come out from all this discussion that art or illustration or literature is a way to escape reality. It is not. It is also a way to go for adventures out of the reality, but is a right of being global citizenship in the land, in the world, in the planet, and in the imaginarium, in the international culture. So I really want to thank you for this important project that you are taking care about. We look forward, of course, next edition, and at the end, the biggest discourse with the selection and the big illustrators. Thank you very much for your generosity, for being with us, with me, and with us today. Voglio ringraziarvi moltissimo per questa conversazione, per questo progetto. Appunto mi piaceva citare gli articoli 13 e 17, no, della Carta internazionale dei diritti del fanciullo, perché quando parliamo di arti performative o di illustrazioni, di libri, di cultura per l'infanzia, a volte si parla, no, di modi per scappare dalla realtà, la fantasia, il modo per evadere. Certo, c'è anche quella funzione, ma in realtà la cultura, le arti, il racconto del mondo ci serve per essere cittadini globali del pianeta, per stare con i piedi per terra, volendo anche con la testa fra le nuvole, ma perché è un diritto di cittadinanza. Quindi un progetto importantissimo, davvero straordinario, evocativo. Noi aspettiamo le prossime edizioni, intanto ci godiamo questa bellissima mostra di quest'anno. Vi ringrazio anche per la generosità che avete mostrato nello stare con me e con noi di Bologna Children's Book Fair oggi. Quindi vi ringrazio e vi saluto. Arrivederci.
Bye bye.
Grazie a te.
Bye, grazie.
Arrivederci.